We love our sports. We love to see competitions, the thrill of victory, even the joy of the rest after hard training, and possibly the delight during the effort. We humans have evolved and prospered thanks to our endurance skills. It gave us a dominance over the other species and of the world. Our evolution from hunters to gatherers and to workers allowed us to continue thriving. The transition to a more sedentary lifestyle in the last century bound us to exercise to fulfill our bodily and mental health needs. Exercise is essential to our survival in a healthy and productive manner to continue our growth. The question we are raising is to which extent should we do sports, and does having elite sports, top level athletics, helps our society further, or is it counterproductive toward a health goal? Although competitions have existed since the dawn of civilization to test and improve skills and performances, we kept inventing new sports and competitions to survive in wars, fights, or environmental conditions. Following Pierre de Coubertin and others, we created many events to motivate modern, less active citizens to live a better and healthier life. Exercise, sports, and competitions are some of the pillars of our modern life. We hate it, but we still must exercise. We like it and choose one or more sports, and we love it and engage in competitions. Society has created numerous international competition as arenas to measure performances. In the turn of the century, there was only 3 to 4 major competitions per year for all sports. The number of events keeps increasing, capturing always more spectators and brain time away from regular worries and social issues. In 2024, the number of international events is tremendous, and that excludes all major international competition, which attract many persons. As often with human development, we have evolved away from the ultimate goal of maintaining health for humanhood toward the search for wealth and fame. Sports is a major industry, and elite sport is its marketing window, attracting crowds and awe spectators. It is difficult to estimate the ultimate economy of sport, but just in England, the economic activities from sports increased ninefold in 25 years. The revenues from just the stadium incomes is astonishing, with over 2 billion for the Major League Baseball, pretty much a one country summer sport. The revenue for sport is hard to estimate as they come from numerous direct and indirect sources. Fan products participation are the best measurable portions, but that excludes other related items, indirect sponsorship, sports nutrition, doping. Sport equipment only is expected to reach 229 billion in 2029. Spectator and participatory rose 100 billion in 1 year. Sport is an incredible industry which keeps increasing at an unthinkable rate. Even during dire economic trends, there seems to be no end to that growth. This drives the need for always more attractive events, more records, better performances. That reached $500 billion in 2024, increasing by 6% per year. It has evolved away from normal human performance and has created an artificial world. Many, incomprehensibly, follow avid performances and athletes. The search for the ultimate place or performance hides the total lack of reality and equality of elite sport. We were made to believe that modern elite sports are the arena to witness sportsmanship, equality of chances, fairness, human mental strength, tenacity, and resolve. Nothing is further from the truth. The focus remains on winners and champions. The others are seen, in most minds, as losers, frail, weaker, forgotten. The more we celebrate and enhance champions, the more we denigrate the others. If you dare to listen further and put away the criticism of synthetic or contextual contents that you are bound to build as you try to reject the logic and the reality of life, you might approach differently the elite sports and renew your drive to exercise. You will see that social context does not even the fields, resulting in very unequal chances to shine. You will see how technologies, in very unexpected areas, become the main drivers of the wins, giving advantages to the well-sponsored. You will see that genetics show that we are not born equal as far as performances are concerned, and that your greatest champions may not deserve your adulations, but possibly only your curiosity. You will see that performance enhancements of all types and from all avenues render formal competitions a parody of what it is intended to portray. With the very effective but allowed substances such as Ventolin or creatine, with the newly created TUEs, therapeutic usage exemptions, permitting any drug justification, with the many drugs not yet known and with no test developed or simply untestable, with the puny funds available for testing, with the many avenues to avoid, minimize, or control the test, with the actors having a combined vested interest in bolstering this artificial progress and maintaining the opacity of the performances. Hopefully, you might grow a love for sports and for all its benefits. As you might have left behind your denial of global warming, you might want to also to return to the purity of performing for its value, safely, cleanly, traditionally, and fairly, without support, cheating, or compensation for yourself or your health, leaving behind international events, deceits, corruptions, exploitation. You might grow an urge to be your best, but not to be first. Wanting to be first is what brings excesses, cheating, corruptions. Aiming at simply being one's best is a true fair aim with all the virtue of sport. We're not starting on equal stand. Today, with social differences, always changing technologies, genetic anomalies, and artificial enhancements availability, being first implies necessarily an advantage in all of these features. Away from fairness, drive resolve. Aim to be your best. What do we mean by sports? The origin of sports comes from the old French des sports, meaning entertainment, but the Oxford definition is now focused on physical exercise, an activity involving physical exertions and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. It also can be defined as an activity involving physical exertion and skill that is governed by a set of rules or customs and often undertaken competitively. From there, we can branch to competitions. The activity or condition of striving to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others, a test of skill or ability, a contest. Only a few could do sports in the 1900s. According to Pierre de Coubertin, the competitions, the Olympic Games, should be restricted to non-professionals. This meant those who do not have professions, those who do not need to work. The privileged persons needed to exercise to improve their health. The others, the professionals, the workers, they do enough exercise. In the entire world, the few privileged were those at the top of the pyramid, a small pyramid of the then self-called elite. Competitions were initiated, including the Olympics, which eventually added the aim to see the limits of the body at performing various functions. How high can one jump? How quick can one run or swim? What are the limits of endurance? How much can a man lift? Comparison to other species has always been a favorite, but no matter how we do it, we are only bound to our physiology. Yes, we can beat a snail at high jump, but most species are better than we are, even insects. Competitions within our species do permit us to push athletes towards further limits. We keep breaking records, and records of all types will be bettered over time. Competition started at different levels. The elite doesn't appear. It must extract itself from the pool of international athletes, They come from an even larger pool of national competitors from all nations, resulting from regional and huge amounts of local persons doing sports. It is a heavy loaded based pyramid. The elite profits from the benefits of training. Athlete coaches improve also the techniques for exercise. These techniques can be for efficiency, to gain speed, height, or length, or to be able to do more within the same time or to avoid injuries. Working out in groups helps with the motivation, the repeats, and the techniques as athletes watch each other. Sport is important for our health. Competitions are a good means to measure performance and improvements. Competitions have rules and they are measured accurately. Competitions and events are measured accurately. However, on a social level, there's three levers that make the elite access more difficult: the ability to train, the access to facility, and the timing of performances. Ability to train is a function of the time available to follow the minimal requirements to reach a competitive level. It requires daily multiple hours of training. This is not a given for most of the populations. Workers, meaning real workers who need to work 8 hours a day, at least, in physical demanding tasks, have much less advantages to devote daily time for training. Cozy office workers might have an easier time. It's the same for students. Those who need time for difficult studies and who additionally need to work to pay for these won't be able to train with the same assiduity than those with paid tuitions or simply no schooling. Imagine you didn't need to work, to study, and had all the money you wished. You would have much greater ability to train, to get better, and to get more money. Sport is money. Although difficult to truly evaluate, athletes of all sports make good to luxurious living. Top earners in 2023 is astonishing. Their yearly earning is unconscionable. Major leagues in the US attracting athletes from the world seem difficult to beat with averages in millions of dollars. Although there's a gender gap, female athletes make very reasonable money compared to the average person. Even in minor sports like swimming, the disclosed earning can be very attractive. The newcomer Léon Marchand is already worth $2 to $3 million. Other less transparent earnings play a role, such as athletic scholarships in the US, where college degrees can cost up to $160,000, or sponsorship, which can be very opaque. And in addition, in many developed countries, athletes received stipends from direct salaries to social aid, ranging from $500 to multiple of thousands corresponding to the sports or levels. That is not equality at the start for most countries, and most people will never have the chance to even try to reach the top levels. We are not equal at the start. The second important lever is the access to facilities. The accessibility to facilities is important and differs by sport. Sports facilities such as well-equipped track and fields, covered for bad weather, swimming pools, and gymnasium are readily available in some countries, while very rare and simply inaccessible in others. Having the right facilities available at convenient times and regularly is decisive for athletes. That creates huge differences amongst nations. In addition, access to the top coaching has a price tag. Coaching permits to reach the top. This includes all accurate measurements, not of the performance, but of the physiology of the athlete during and training and at the rest. This is costly and sophisticated, but gives the edge. There is no equality at the start. The always increasing number of sports and events doesn't help the least endowed to compete. It's all about money. The issue is compounded every year as there are an always increasing number of sports. The first Olympics in 1896, there were 9 sports for 43 events. 1906, 13 sports for 78 events. Under 20 sports until 1972 for 195 events. Rio boasted 28 sports for 306 events. And Tokyo, 33 sports for 339 events. This is the way to dilute the value of performances. Many nations have no chance in some sports. Winter sport is practically prohibited in all of Africa and most of Asia and Latin America. Swimming pools are in existence in some countries, while Australia has 1.5 million pools for its 25 million inhabitants. Some sports require huge investments like canoeing to have an Olympic grade facilities to train year long. Only 10 to 15 countries have artificial whitewater training facilities for canoeing and kayaking, and a handful have more than one, making it a very restricted event, as opposed to football or athletics, which is more democratic. A third aspect of social differences in elite sport is the timing towards performance. The ability to train, the access to facilities, gradually allows some athletes to compete against top nations. All athletes tend to progress, but to be at the top, it is often a matter of timing. Every athlete can get motivated by looking back at previous records or Olympic performances and judging that the records from one or two previous winners is an easy reach. For example, a 200-meter butterfly was won in 2000 in 155 for the first and 158 for the eighth. In 2004, the winner was 154 and the eighth 157. In 2008, it was won by Phelps with 152 while the eighth did 155. If you are not part of the elite, training as hard as possible, harder than those who reached the top 8 years ago, you will not be part of the elite. Performances rarely jump levels. They are subject to painful straight-line progressions. Latecomer nations improve more rapidly but do stay one or more Olympiad back. The social differences or access is usually different in sport. The social ability to train, the access to facilities, and the timing to catch up are good drives to improve on for nations. The competition allows us to measure the gap to reach the top. As spectators, we tend to compare our nations against the others, but we tend to forget that the starting point is not the same. Certainly, the professionalism can be construed as nationalism. Some nations sponsor greatly their athletes with financial supports and perfect facilities and coaches. Is that part of the competition? If we admit that one nation or club can have 20 well-sponsored or well-paid athletes training in top facilities, compete against athletes who must pay and work on the side, the view of fair competition is biased. To illustrate today's topic on the influence of the social context to reach the elite level, I would like to give it a personal touch. I share my example not because it's unique, but on the contrary, because it's quite typical of most athletes then, certainly, and today as well. This will illustrate the three items on the video: the ability to train, the access to facility, and the timing to performance. I reached the international level, the national level, national champions and record holders, and the top 10 in my event. I started swimming when I was 12 in a small town which had a swimming pool and a small club which allow workouts 3 to 4 times per week. Certainly not enough to reach a national level. At 14, I managed to get to a boarding school which had a pool, a coach, and a good team on the premises. This allowed dual workouts per day at 5 in the morning and 6 days per week. That's the minimum requirements to reach national or international levels. Later in the US universities, schools, coaching, and competitive teams are plentiful. A competitive group is important for progress. Swimming is an individual sport which is practiced as a group. You cannot sustain a 5 a.m. dual day workout as an individual. You need a group for competition, emulation, stimulations, motivation. You see, the ability to train, the access to facilities is crucial, but you need also a competitive group for progress. The timing to performance is the last issue. Way back then, without internet, access to a list of the top 10 or top 100 best competitors worldwide was very difficult. If you were ambitious, you looked at the top and say, this is what I want, where I want to be in 1 year, 2 years, or in a couple of years from now. And you do your best to reach that level. When you get there, the train has gone, the elite has moved on. Only if you are in a top team can you gauge your performance to see which level you should reach to top this elite. If you're a small team, you cannot see which performance, what the expectation would be, what you have to do to reach that top level. You might get there, but it might be too late. Another important aspect is that you reach maturity when you're about 18, a bit earlier for girls. And then you probably have 2 years, and 4 if you're lucky, to get your competitive level up to the elite. After that, you have to complete your studies or go to work. Way back then, you had much fewer opportunities. There were few international competitions, world championships and Olympics every 4 years. So your window of opportunity was very, very small. You basically had one shot. You rarely had a second chance. At 22, your career of sports, of swimming in that case, was over. Today, things have changed. Today, elite careers starts at 22 and they are professionals or are paid and they can go on for a much longer time. Today's sports elite has more to do with a profession, doing a good job, than with drive, courage, motivation. Anyway, I hope this small example illustrates the social access and elite. We have looked at the social aspect of sport, which builds, or not, the elite. It was not too controversial. If you dare challenge yourself further, the technology aspect of sports and of elite level will open your eyes much further. Technology plays a much more significant role than you think. Tremendous progresses of athletes is not necessarily the result of a harder training, harder motivation. If you dare, we look forward to having you for the next video.